Free agency isn't always free. After 6 years in the major leagues, if you haven't signed a contract for the following season, you can file for free agency, meaning you can accept outside arbitration or shop yourself to another team. It's an important right and one that was hard won by the Players Association. But freedom is a double-edged sword. If you do accept arbitration and win a bigger salary, your current team has to pay you more than they would have, and you may have created an adversarial relationship with the team. If you lose and don't get an increase, there might be hard feelings between you and your club. Free agency means you can leave, but it may also mean you will leave. In other words, once you shop the market, your current team could decide they can't afford you and don't want to try to match another offer. Then you're stuck moving to a higher-paying team that you might not want to play for in a city you don't want to live in. I decided early on that I wanted to live in Maryland and play for the Orioles, if possible, for my whole career. Was I hurting my negotiating power? Was I leaving money on the table? Maybe, maybe not. However, I had communicated that as a dedicated player, I was part of the worth of the franchise, an asset for the team's fan base. That in itself had a value to the team. And even though my first choice was to stay, I could still leave when and if my contract expired. In fact, I once got pretty close to going. After the 1987 season, the Orioles and I were trying to do a multi-year deal, but we couldn't seem to get it done. About 10 minutes before the midnight deadline for free agency, we inked a one-year deal that got me what I wanted for the time being. I could stay with the O's and retain my free agency option for the following year. As a result, when my father was fired after 6 games in 1988, I was eligible to be a free agent at the end of the year. Because of the way he was treated, I wasn't feeling too good about my relationship with the team, and I made no secret of my feelings. Just the possibility that I might file for free agency was enough leverage to help me get a good deal. In August 1988, I signed for 3 years with an option to extend. That taught me a valuable lesson. Sometimes your leverage doesn't have to be stated. Just the idea that it's possible to exercise it may carry more power than actually using it. One of the many things that matters more than money: control. Here's another lesson I learned over and over. Making a lot of money doesn't mean you get to determine your own destiny. That isn't true in just sports. Ask the CEO of a public company who has to answer to analysts and shareholders, or the rock star who has to hide from fans when she goes out for Starbucks. I never set out to make headlines or break the bank as the highest paid player in the game or the guy who got the biggest bonus. Control was always more important to me. Playing where I wanted to, a no-trade clause, even having the right to play basketball in my free time, these things mattered more than mere dollars. Control is especially important in the big leagues, where your life could change any day with a trade, an injury, or another player coming along to take your spot. You can't control everything, but you can have some say-so. That's not something money can buy. I wanted to play close to my hometown and come home to my house after a home game. This was far better than the threat of waking up one day and finding out that I'd been traded across the country to join a team that I didn't want to play for. Longer-term stability and security, even if it meant passing up what might have been more money, and influence in what position I played mattered way more than being the highest-paid shortstop. Though I also didn't want to give up fair market value for any of these things. Of course, a lot of this stuff is up to the manager and the club, but I wanted a voice. I was very happy to take a good, respectable paycheck in return for getting as much control as possible over my life. Respect is worth something too. Edward Bennett Williams, Orioles owner and a famous trial attorney, was an enormously successful, larger-than-life guy, and he could be very intimidating. In the off-season, the team would ask us to make appearances. I did as many as I could fit in, but at the end of the 1983 season, after we won the World Series, I was physically and mentally beat, and I desperately needed to get enough rest to be ready for spring training. The Orioles publicity department asked me to go down to the Jefferson Hotel in Washington, D.C. for an event, and I just felt I was too wiped out and had to decline. The next day, I got a call from EBW. The first thing that impressed me was that he called me directly. No assistant or secretary getting me on the line and saying, "I'll put Mr. Williams on." Just EBW saying, "Cal, I know that you've gone above and beyond what anyone could expect in promoting the Orioles this offseason, and I understand why you declined our event.